afternoon, good morning. We are international, and I'm very excited to be here. My name is Dr. Tova Goldfein. This is TMS Roundtable, and for some of you that might be joining us new, we've been streaming live weekly for the last 7 years, and like I say, I'm not slowing down. I will be here weekly, ongoing with the great people like co-hosting like Rachel and amazing people that have been on their healing journey like Michele. I will be continuing weekly. So tonight, let me just share a little bit about my co-host, Rachel Whitfield, a returning TMS Roundtable guest, we had an amazing broadcast. You can view it on the YouTube, TMS Roundtable Recovery. Rachel made a full recovery from long COVID and has shared her story across the BBC, ITV, podcast, and YouTube channels. With her biochemistry background and her passion for running, cycling, and enduring challenges, we are honored to bring Rachel as our co-host. Tonight's guest, Michele French. I met her a few months ago in the community and kind of had a conversation. And at that point, I remember she was not doing so well. And then I bumped into her a few months ago and heard her recovery. And so I'm speechless and in awe. And I'm going to let Michele speak in a moment. I just want to share with the listeners a little bit about Michele. She lived through years of severe symptoms following COVID, trauma, medication sensitivity, and overwhelming anxiety. She experienced buzzing, heaviness, shaking, numbness, muscle cramps, food reactions, and a level of fear that made even simple tasks feel impossible. Physical therapy suggested her symptoms were neurological, and there were moments she couldn't even get off the floor. But that was when Michele refused to give up. She immersed herself in the somatic work, gentle movement, brain retraining, some of Dr. John Sarno's principles, and much more, which we'll be interested to hear about. And slowly her nervous system began to change. Michele is a living example. Michele is a living example that anything is possible, even after years of debilitating symptoms. Michele, I'm just grateful and honored to be here, and I know Rachel is too, that you came on to share with us about your story, maybe to answer some questions. So before we move forward, I'd love you just to, give a timeline of kind of like what happened in the beginning, middle, and where you're at now. There may be some questions that we may address, and Rachel and I will interact with you to get some clarity, but we're going to sit back and listen. And again, welcome to my holy studio.
Hey, Dr. Tova. Hey, Rachel. So good to be here.
Hi.
Hey.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm going to start my story back in 2014, which, I think all of our stories start way before then. The type A personalities. I was always one that was very hard on myself. I didn't like myself that well. I, I, I I was never thin enough. I was never pretty enough. I didn't say things right. I didn't all of it. I was very insecure. So I have a diagnosis of OCD, pure OCD, which I've had all of my life, and I didn't really know it at the time. And this was something that I dealt with. And when you have pure OCD, you have these horrible thinking, off the wall thinking patterns of harm and things like that. So, and I never understood that. I never understood what it was. So coming on 2014, I not understanding the thoughts, I was getting this thinking, and I had a lot of stress before that because I needed a really extensive surgery. Like it was a real big one, and dealing with the insurance and the doctors and how long I'd be out of work and all of that stuff. And I started getting really anxious about those things, and that always made the OCD worse, right? Which I didn't know it was at the time. So I went to my local GP and, told her a bit about the story, and she gave me my first anxiety medication. And I waited a week to take that or so. And then I finally decided that I was going to take it because I was getting really anxious, and I didn't understand anxiety work or how to curb that or even the OCD. So I took the pill, and I got in my car and I drove to my doctor's office, which was like 20 minutes away. And I had an instant reaction to it, an instant
Wow.
reaction to this
Right.
anxiety medication. And I get at the doctor's office and my heart's pounding and my blood pressure is so high, they wouldn't let me leave. They're like, you need to have someone come and pick you up. Your blood pressure is through the roof. You need to go to the hospital. So my mom comes and picks me up and she takes me to the hospital, and they give me whatever to have it come down. They mention maybe serotonin syndrome or something. They just don't know. So of course my blood pressure comes down, but I felt weird right away, which I know now is like depersonalization, derealization from this pill all of a sudden changing my chemicals really, really fast. It just affected me that fast. And I just wasn't feeling myself. And and I'm going into detail with this because this is the big trauma I believe when COVID came along is what happened. So I didn't understand, didn't sleep that night. Sleeping didn't happen. I went to my doctor again. They just kept giving me more and more medication, and it started where I couldn't sit down in my seat. I started pacing 22 hours a day. It was impossible to sit down. It's almost like a bear was chasing you constantly 24/7. The severe anxiety, the internal, you can't even describe it. And um so I tried all these meds, they didn't work. So I'm going to kind of go through this a bit, but a few years later, I finally got over that. Like 6 or 8 months, like, the acute stage of what happened to me had started coming down, and I went back to work still a mess, still a complete wreck because completely traumatized. If you hadn't slept for, like, 2 or 3 weeks, things happen. You start hallucinating, there's all, and then not being able to sit down is, it's undescribable. If you sit, like, it just builds up, this pressure just builds up and you have to move. You have to move. So I go back to work, truly traumatized by that. I find a therapist, find out that I have OCD, all of those things, but no one's ever heard of what happened to me from a medication. So I go online, I come across, some articles because I knew it was the medication. I knew it was. So I come across some articles and I found out that I got severe akathisia from this medication, which can be a effect. So people taking it, don't freak out. It happens to some, not everybody. The only reason I'm putting this out here is because that's kind of important to me too. So I just want to let you know it only happens to some. And I believe it's because I was already so dysregulated the time that I took it.
Yeah.
So I find out I have severe akathisia and I learn about it, which is a movement disorder. It's in the literature, it's in the pamphlet you get when you get your medication. So I find out about that and it truly terrifies me. And I'm afraid to take anything else in my life. I'm afraid. I'm afraid of everything because of the severe trauma I went through. So I move on. I really start getting good with my life. I was walking and, doing a ketogenic diet, and I was really taking care of myself, and I was happy and really living my best life. And my mom got sick. My mom got sick.
Mm.
I had kids in college. I worked 12, 14 hours a day, plus walking 5 or 6 miles a day, not putting 1 ounce of sugar in my body. I was really anal about it, which I didn't realize the first time around what I was doing. So, but I felt really good. And So my mom gets sick and I'm having to take care of her, and I completely let myself go. I stopped doing self-care. I stopped completely. I didn't have time to do it. And my mom gets sick, I'm taking care of her, and then my mom passes, and I quit my job. I quit it. I had plans on going to college and things, but the type of job that I worked was nights, weekends. I never got to go to family functions. I never could do anything with my family at night. So I quit my job and I have nothing. I went going from 1,000 miles an hour to nothing and not taking care of myself. And 2022, I find another job, decide that I'm going to start working part time, go back to school, and I catch COVID the first week of that job. The first week. So I catch COVID, very minor symptoms, a cold was worse, honestly, Um, I catch COVID 10 days later. I started feeling a little anxious, but then I thought, okay, well, anxiety's been creeping up anyway. I didn't think anything of it, right? 10 days later, I have the biggest adrenaline dump I have ever had in my life. I thought it would crack me in half. So this is where the akathisia comes in play at 2014. It felt so similar, and I was horrified of it, horrified. And I I can't tell you how scared I was of those feelings, those major nervous system feelings. So the next day, I'm still the same way. The anxiety's high. I have the depersonalization back, the derealizations back, the high heart rate, the, not sleeping. And it just kind of snowballed into a pattern. And I started getting online to the long COVID groups. And they were saying, it's all neurological and just horror stories, horror stories. And I thought, well, maybe whatever happened to me 14 years ago, maybe that happened again. Like, I don't know because it feels so similar. And I don't know what COVID does, and nobody can tell you. Went to the doctor and they were like, we can't tell you. We don't know if it's going to get better. We don't know if it'll get worse. We don't know. We don't know anything. So I go into those groups as well, the medication groups, and I'm in the COVID groups. And meanwhile, my symptoms are getting worse and worse and worse. So the medication groups are telling me I might have some sort of brain damage. The COVID groups are telling me I might have some sort of brain neurological injury. Um, and I completely just shut down. The symptoms were more severe, high anxiety, panic, couldn't sleep, all of it all over again. And I thought, I can't do this again. I have already went through over a year, 2 years to even feel halfway normal. Last time, here I got COVID now, and then I had this previous brain injury from this medication that they're telling me. And now I'm doomed. I was getting, fasciculations, twitching, jerks, tremors. I thought I had Parkinson's. I thought I had ALS. I was hitting all those groups, just trying to figure out what was wrong with me because I felt so bizarre. And the brain fog was so severe, I couldn't even write. I couldn't write. I couldn't, everything just would go. And the thinking, like, you're so lost in your head, the thinking and the brain fog, it was so severe that I just thought, "Okay, I can't do this anymore." And it was 4 months after getting COVID, I made a plan, and I followed through with that plan. And, um, I was found, obviously, and I woke up on life support a week later or a few days later, and the memories aren't so clear there, but I wake up, they tell me, okay, yes, I'm diagnosed long COVID. Obviously, I have to stay in the hospital for a while because then I have to go to the mental part of the hospital because of what I did to myself. They told me that I shouldn't be here whatsoever. I should be gone. If
Whoa.
anybody was close to death, it was me.
Whoa.
And so I get there, they put me on medication, a few different types of medication, and send me home. And at that time, and like the symptoms I got from COVID before was like my body felt so heavy and like I couldn't move any of it. It was awful. So when I get home and I'm on this medication, I'm worse. I'm worse. I have an infection in my leg because of the surgery that they had to do to repair what I had done to myself. I had cardiovascular surgery. Um, I have a nurse coming in my house. She's taking care of my wounds. Because I don't care. At that point, I woke up. I was very disappointed that I even woke up and it was still here. Like I have no hope. I can't even make a plan and do that right. I thought to myself, like I can't even do that right.
Whoa.
So I get home, I'm worse.
I wish we
I'm
were in a
literally
room
like,
together and I could give you a giant hug, by the way. I just want to hug you, Michelle. I really wish we were
Those
not
virtual hugs
separate
come in deep, squeeze.
yeah.
virtual.
So I take care of I go to, the therapy, the wound therapy. I get all of that done with. I start seeing a neurologist. That's when all the testing and things happened. My physical gait and just movement was almost like a person with Parkinson's or a movement disorder. It was awful. Um, all my testing came back everything was okay. I was definitely diagnosed with POTS and dysautonomia. I had that going on because I would stand up, my heart rate would go to 20, my legs were purple, all of it. So I go to physical therapy and I'm barely walking at this time. I'm crawling down my stairs to go to the bathroom. My husband has a job, somebody had to pay the bills. It was up to me. Like, and I laid in, and I didn't care what happened to me at that point in time. I didn't care. I just went through the motions, um, because what I did to myself, I couldn't do again. I couldn't do it again. It was hard enough doing it the first time. So, I start going to physical therapy, and I was there a year. It took me a year. Um, I start going to cognitive therapy because of the brain fog and all of that stuff. But meanwhile, I'm still doing this. I'm still Googling. I'm still on the groups. I'm still trying to figure out what's the matter with me. I'm still just absolutely horrified of my symptoms and I don't want to be this way. And I'm still doing all those bad things. Okay. So I finally go into YouTube and I had severe internal vibration. Like I almost couldn't stand it. It drove me nuts, and the anxiety that was coming with it, and we'll get to that before, because I started out with anxiety here and ended up with anxiety here, which I know now was a hyperarousal state. So, anyways, I Google internal vibrations and CFS recovery with Miguel comes up. Okay. And here I'm thinking I'm hopeless. Like I am hope and I'm on medication that I had to withdraw from, by the way, which I'll go through that. I'm on a benzodiazepine and another type of antidepressant. So I punched that up and internal vibrations come up in this video. And these people with CFS has internal vibrations, the twitching, all of it. They have all of it. And I'm like, okay, what is that? What is that? Because here I'm thinking I'm neurological. They told me in the hospital I had neuroinflammation. They don't know what to do with me. It's all neurological. So I'm like, okay, I'm doomed. I'm going to be just a vegetable for the rest of my life. So something in me I just kept searching in my searching, so I come up with that and I'm watching these videos and then suddenly I'm going through all of his videos and I'm going on Relan how do I pronounce that? Raylan Nagel.
Raylan
I
Eagle,
find
yeah.
that yeah. And then I find out about the TMS groups. Okay, so I'm on the TMS groups, not believing any of it, really. Okay. I'm just like, this is all bull crap. They don't know what they're talking about. Like, it can't be a nervous system problem. It can't be. So I do a mini of programs. So I was one of those that went to one program to another program. Oh, this one's going to fix me. That one's going to fix me. I need to do this. I need to do that. And meanwhile, I'm still not functioning. I'm barely getting off my couch to go to the bathroom. I'm not living my life at all, at all. So like I said, I do a couple of those programs, and then I found out that I'm on these drugs, right? And they're not doing me any good. Like, they're not helping me whatsoever. They did absolutely nothing for me. Even like a vitamin D would give me severe physical issues. So I have to taper off these drugs. I have to taper off these benzodiazepines and these antidepressants. And now I'm in the drug groups, and now I'm scaring myself about this. Okay. So now I've got this problem and this problem. If there was a picture of Google Queen in a dictionary, my face would be right there. That's who I am. And so now I'm coming off these
That
drugs.
sense of humor saved you.
Yeah. So now I'm coming off these
Exactly.
drugs. I'm coming off these drugs. I don't have a plan. Withdrawal is absolutely real. People should really just go slow and listen to their doctor and all of those stuff. But I'm coming off these drugs and I'm scared because now I'm listening to all the other group stuff, which, withdrawal is a real thing. It's not TMS. It's real. It's absolutely real. So I get off of those, right? And I'm trying to do all these programs. Okay, so I find Dr. Becca Kennedy. Love Dr. Becca Kennedy, and I start listening to all her stuff. Meanwhile, I've done Mindful Gardener. I found this anxiety group which helped me to do what I do now, which is regulate. But I find these groups, and Dr. Becca Kennedy, she had like a waiting list, and she had this one Zoom where you could ask a question. And I asked a question because I kind of figured out this was all a hyperarousal state. Most of it was a hyperarousal state. I started here, but the Googling and all of that stuff left me here.
Wow.
So I asked her this question, the muscles, fasciculations, the twitching, the tremors, all of it. Is this a hyperarousal state? She says, absolutely. This is a hyperarousal state. So I find this anxiety program, and this is where I found the true work where, because I couldn't do TMS. My anxiety was so bad. I could not do the journaling. I couldn't start anything until I started getting this to here. So, what I had to start doing was recognizing every looping thought that I was doing. I'm never going to get better. Oh my God, that twitch. Oh my God. Oh, my back hurts. Oh, is my blood pressure up? Am I going to have a heart attack? I had to start noticing all of those things, and I had to address it. I had to address it. I would say, oh, wait, stop. This is my nervous system. I would smile. I would lower my shoulders. I am safe. And I had to make a schedule for myself at first too, because I wasn't doing anything. Like, I felt like I couldn't do anything. So that was slowly. I started doing my dishes. I started, very slowly building up. But then I found this program, and then I'm doing this. And I said, okay, I'm making a choice. I have to start somewhere. I'm in a severe hyperarousal state. So anxiety is here. When we go into a hyperarousal state, we end up here. That becomes our car. So you know how when you drive a car, that's already in here. You don't have to keep learning that over and over again. It's just here. So you're on autopilot really when you're driving your car. You know, you're turning a corner, but you completely be in your head about what you may be having for dinner or whatever. You don't have to really pay attention. So when we get into a hyperarousal state, one thought or one symptom automatically shoots adrenaline and cortisol in the body, and you don't have any time to respond. This is what I had to tame down to start really doing the somatic work, because this was so bad. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I was so afraid of my symptoms that I couldn't do it. So I started doing this every 2 seconds. I swear to God, it almost drove me insane. I had to correct it. So wait, okay, no, you're not doomed. I see you thought. And Michelle, you're trying really, really hard, but I'm not going to engage with that thinking right now. I'm lowering my shoulders and I'm moving on. And I just kept doing that over and over and over again. And finally, this started slowing down. And finally, this started coming down, right? So when I brought that hyperarousal down, I'm here, which I got stuck with COVID, right? This part of the nervous system. Now I could start healing this. Then I was able to do somatics and meditation and all of those things, visualization. And I just started doing journaling. I just started doing it because I tried EMDR and all that stuff before, but I was so hyper aroused, I couldn't do it. I could not do it. So, um, yeah, I know I'm missing some stuff, but that's kind of my story in a nutshell. That's how I started on this.
Wow. Michelle, firstly, I just want to say I am so sorry for everything that you went through. And I was there and I was just thinking, how much worse could it be? And then you talked about your mum passing, and then you talked about trying to end your life, and then talking about the fact that you're so disappointed. I had tears at one point. And then I wanted to just tell you, get out of the bad neighborhoods, get out of the bad neighborhoods, which I know you talk about. But then the turning point, it's a kind of double-edged sword, isn't it? Because you're Googling, you're trying to find things, and that's
Right.
not good in a way. But then it's also the turning point as well, that Googling found you,
Oh, that was
Miguel, and
hard to
found
stop.
you,
That is,
Becca.
The
yeah.
double-edged
Yeah.
sword. It's a double-edged sword, and people have to be. You have to know yourself and understand your obsessive thoughts, you're ruminating, and pull back. You have to be able to be this, the I don't like to call it the bad cop, but to be the disciplined person. And then go ahead and Google the SHIT out of it if you want to, but be aware of how it's affecting you. And you knew yourself, you understood yourself after all those years of Googling, you understood the players. And that's what helped you.
Right. Well, regulate
Yeah.
became my way of allowing. Like I know you have to allow. And I couldn't allow. I was too hyper aroused to allow. So this simple, this is my nervous system every 5 seconds smiling. It was breaking that. And that taught me to allow. That taught me to allow over and over and over again. So I didn't loop. I didn't loop. The loop wasn't, it was becoming less of my car. I had to unlearn that car. Like I had to unlearn because I was grabbing onto that that looping, and I was just going with it, and I would sit there all day and just because I was so anxious. And that's just
Michelle,
what happened.
sometimes what I'll use with clients is I'll use the Byron Katie work. And, so you kind of watched your thoughts and you sort of spoke to them, but did you find you questioned and said that thought's a lie and you kind of changed it? Like, kind of, how did give us an
I didn't try
example?
to change anything. I allowed it all. No matter what it was, I allowed it, but I addressed it. I didn't ignore it. I didn't distract from it, but I addressed it and I allowed all of it. I allowed it. Okay, yep, I see you there, thought. I see you. And it depended on what the thought was. Like the old Michelle would be like, "Oh, you're pathetic. Like, just stop doing this stuff." And that would come a lot. Like, just stop. But then I would have to give
Yeah.
myself some grace there too and say, "Listen, thought, I see you. And I'm trying really hard. I am. I'm trying. And I'm not going to engage with you right now. I'm just not."
Beautiful.
And then I would move
Yeah.
on. And then another thought would come, or the same one would come back. But that's how I did it. That's how I did it.
Do you know what I love about that is the fact that we all, a lot of people have done brain retraining and the stop process and the very
I
specific
tried that
steps. But
too.
what you've done, Michelle, there is you kind of just made it mean something to you. You kind of made it,
Yeah.
I think, your own by noticing the thoughts and pulling different techniques in. What I loved about what you said, and I'd love to hear more, is about, I think you call it secondary fear. I think, and it's almost the fear of the fear of the fear. How
Right.
did you, what was that like? And how did you kind of manage that or find ways around that?
So second fear is something, okay, so COVID obviously spilled our bucket over, right? So we started here. But the Googling and the worrying and what's the matter with me and the fixing and the focusing and the fearing and the frustration becomes our second fear, as like Dr. Claire Weeks would say, we're adding on to that, and it could be anything with pain. Oh my gosh, my back hurts. What's the matter? I had that testing done, but really, what if the doctor missed something? And what if I'm going to not be able to walk next week? And that is second fear. That is second fear.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm not going to take all the credit for it. A lot of things that I did, I learned myself, but a few anxiety groups I learned this from. And there is a group that he's been around for over 20 years. And this is where really I learned I had hyperarousal, which is anxietycenter.com. Every symptom in TMS world
Brilliant.
he has on that list.
It's
And I
it's
learned
a
a lot from
brilliant for
there.
anyone listening. It's
Have
brilliant.
you seen that? It's a great site.
I've
It
seen
really
it,
is.
and I nearly fell off my chair, Michelle, when I saw it. And I was with a group of about 5 ladies who'd more or less recovered from long COVID, and someone sent it, and I nearly fell off my chair because I thought it's
That's
all
how
the
I
long
recovered.
COVID symptoms.
That's
Yeah,
how I
I send it
recovered.
everywhere, and then I'm a bit worried to send it because it's called anxietycenter.com, and you don't want to send it and people go, but I haven't got anxiety. But actually, it's all the physical
But yeah,
manifestations.
well,
It's brilliant.
anxiety is a little different. Like anxiety is, you step out and a car almost hits you and then you're like, and that seems to
Yep.
come down, right? So this is where I used to get kind of angry with the TMS sites a little bit because they would be like, oh, anxious. Okay, what I'm having is not anxious. This is full on panic attack all day long. And I learned hyperarousal, even a thought or a sensation can automatically, like that's becomes your program. So there's no controlling that. It just happens whether you
Yep.
want to or not. You can't calm that down because it's already happening. It's what you do with it afterwards. Okay. So who knows? I may have stayed here after COVID if I hadn't done this.
Mhm.
I may have been better already if I hadn't,
Mhm.
completely lost my mind, to be honest with you, with the Googling. And I didn't give myself a chance. Like I led myself onto this huge hyperarousal state of fear, of fear.
Yeah.
Fear
Mm.
kept me sick.
Well,
Fear
look,
kept me
I
sick.
just want to, I want to put it on the table with you two brilliant women, that there's nothing new under the sun. Whatever we call it, we're all looking at the same monster under the bed. We're all understanding that we are the solution, that we have an innate intelligence inside of us that's always striving. And you had that innate intelligence and also some angel, Michelle, that just didn't want you to be, you know, 6 feet under quite yet. So
Yeah.
thank you, angel. And
Yeah.
the relationship, I want people to hear, the listeners to hear that the relationship we have with our symptoms is what we have to come to terms with. I
Mhm.
think the love and the compassion that you gave yourself, even though it was kind of rough around the edges, but you gave yourself love and compassion, like we're not going there, is different than like, okay, brain, suck it up. Like you were like, we're
Hmm.
not going there. And Schumer will say, you can bully your brain, like, hey, brain, enough. Like the
Yeah.
woman who would write a letter to her brain, she journaled to her brain, like, however it is, however you want to shake it, we're so individual. No one has the same thumbprint. There's no two snowflakes a lot. Like, catch that for a minute.
Hmm.
Like, we're so individual, so we all will feel differently. But your story presents the similar, like quantum physics of you broke the habit of being yourself. You had no choice when you were
Hmm.
like, well, I just went through the motions, but there was something inside of you, like, because we're going to talk about this in a minute. Like, there was something inside you that said, I'm not giving up. Like, I might as
Right.
well just dive in because I came back. So part of that is where you I think got enormous strength and hope, which
Yeah.
is chemical. And
And
you
Rachel
knew
gave
your
me too. Rachel gave me hope.
okay, so talk about that. Talk about the hope, the relationship, the love and gratitude and kind of sense of self of like we talk about purpose and meaning. I mean, you had your family, your husband, I mean, in honor of your mom passing. Like obviously there was purpose and meaning, which you had a drive, there was some inner drive because of your personality. And you started to use that to serve you, who you
Mhm.
were. So talk a little bit about the hope and how you the will you brought to your life to continue.
Well, the hope was, like the Facebook groups, even though Facebook groups are wonderful, but you have to use them right. Because if you're on there, Googling symptoms 24/7 is not a way to use a very hopeful, helpful Facebook group. And I was using them wrong. I was using them wrong. I was symptom searching 24/7, 24/7. And chat, GPT, I was using it. And then I would came across like Rachel's story and it gave me hope. These Facebook groups, like I left the bad ones, like the long COVID groups and the pure 100% symptoms talk group and the drugs groups. I had to leave them all. And it was really, really hard to do because that was giving me reassurance, right? That was giving me not living with uncertainty. And I had to learn to start living with that uncertainty that I was going to be okay.
Very
But
important.
Yeah.
it's stories like Rachel's that gave me hope. That's what gave me hope at first. I didn't have any. But then I started watching. I started watching and I stopped using, which took a while. I'm not going to say it was hard, but I stopped using the Facebook groups as fixing myself. I realized that no one was going to fix me. I tried everything. I tried diets. I tried medication. I tried vitamin supplements. I tried everything. Nothing was going to fix me but me. But I didn't know that at the time. I was looking and I didn't commit to anything. I would jump from this to that. Whatever was going to fix me first is what I wanted. And I didn't want to have to do that much work to get it, to be honest with you. I just wanted it gone and I didn't want to feel this way and I wanted to be normal. I wanted to be normal. And it was stories like Rachel's. And like I'm in awe. It's like meeting one of my stars because she was the stories that I watched a
Oh,
lot. And there was
really? I
so
had
many
no
other of
idea.
them. Yeah. And there was Krista off of CFS Recovery.
Yeah.
Her story was amazing. She was just like me, completely debilitated. And that's who I was. And yeah, so that's where the hope got. And then there must have been something inside of me that wanted to keep going because I went to wound care therapy, even though I didn't really care if I made it then or not. There was something inside of me I didn't, going through the motions, there was something inside of me that wanted to keep going, but I didn't know what I needed to do. And that left me hopeless until I started finding success stories with people healing from chronic symptoms. So,
Yeah, I want
and
to just
even yours, Doctova, your stories that you were putting on, all,
yeah,
all of them, all of them.
yeah, thank you. I mean, and I'm meeting people from A to Z that are recovering from everything and anything. And really, that's why I think even, you being a little bit helping people and having your YouTube channel and Rachel still moderating, she's moderating with Raylan's. And I think we have this drive as women and as people that have had our own trauma and healing, to just help others, because the majority of people are not our listeners. This is the minority of people, and yet every day somebody walks over from that majority
Yeah.
side who says, wait a minute, I need to look at this and maybe start decreasing my medication, or I need to start understanding it's my brain. And that's why it's so wonderful to have the doctors on our, you know, in our field understand this, like Becca Kennedy. But the point I want to make is we have to keep educating, because the majority is in the medical model, and there's nothing wrong with the medical model. We're not going to bash doctors, but we have to understand that it's about education, and it's about understanding, like you particularly, people do well on anti-anxiety, people do well on antidepressants. It's not a bad thing. It's wonderful that they help. There's a lot of research that they don't help, but we're not going to have that conversation here. What I'm interested in is, because there's a lot of people who who do try to get off their medication. And when you said it's not TMS, I'd like to just say on the record that would you disagree with me or not? But when you're trying to get off the medication and you're addicted and you're weaning yourself off, there is biochemicals and there's a brain and an immune system. Though there is a relation to there are thoughts. And I'd like to say that the thoughts trump everything. That if your thoughts, if you can look at your thoughts, meet them, understand them, be with the right people, that people can get off their medication, people can get off their benzos. There's a whole world of benzo people that are suffering just from the benzo, from the secondary fear, from, like you said, it's the benzo and it's the fear of getting off the benzo. So I'm looking at the reality that it's the fear that people can use these brain retraining, neuroplasticity, you can call it TMS methods, but it's all the same thing. They're somatic methods of changing your brain, of coming out of threat physiology and going into safety physiology. I'd like to chat a little bit about how you hated the medication, though you had to be on it. And then you knew right away it was the devil. So talk a little bit about how people can get off their benzos, how people can do that, just like what you did, with the hope, with the belief, with the meeting their thoughts.
Well, at first, like the benzodiazepine, I think that it definitely should be tapered at a slow rate, honestly, because there is something. If you come off of benzodiazepine, just quit it, and it's not really addiction; it's dependency. Your body becomes dependent on it. Most people take it as prescribed, and they get dependent on it. So, you know, I believe in tapering, like a slower rate, with your doctor by your side. I'm not a doctor. I can only tell you what I did. I did the Ashton manual to come off benzodiazepines, which was a slow taper. Okay. Um, and I did use TMS work, or, my somatics, and, all of that stuff while doing it. I think when someone is abruptly taken off, things do happen. That becomes hyperarousal. Instantly, your nervous system is on fire. But anybody tapering, I wish I would have done it earlier in my taper process, started doing my second fear work and started doing the meditation and all of that. I wish I knew that before I started tapering, but I didn't. I was still hanging around bad neighborhoods. So
Yeah.
people can come off of them.
Great.
I,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I got off of them. I just did it slow. I did it really, really slow. And for me, I did my research, Dr. Heather Ashton was a benzodiazepine taperer from, I don't even know how long ago, but it was a slow taper that was right for me, where other people can taper quickly and be okay too. So there's all kinds of, but yes, I had a real fear of medication. Do I believe that that was the only reason? No, but I believe it was a big reason for me. Yes,
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
I
Again,
think that's it, isn't it? It's not either or, but that secondary
Mhm.
fear of
yeah.
on anything,
Yeah.
any illness. I believe there's a neuroplastic part
Yeah.
to it. Michelle, I've been on the long COVID groups. So when you were talking about the long COVID groups and some of the fear, I was like, please, I wanted to say, please don't go there. But I've also been on the benzo groups as well. And I would
Wow.
say that
Scary,
the
scary.
it's more scary. I think it's more scary. It's less well
It
known.
is.
I certainly tapered antidepressants myself, and I did what you did, and very slowly over a period of months when I was feeling a bit better. And I got to the point where I was taking so little that I knew that it was placebo. I was literally chopping it a quarter, an eighth. So it
Mhm.
was so
Yeah,
little that I then had to just laugh at myself when I
Yeah.
knew that it was
yeah.
just placebo and I was going to be
Now,
okay. But I think
do I
that's it.
my benzo withdrawal was more mental than structurally? No, because I had a severe fear of even being on them. But there are lots of people that don't have that fear either. I just think that, find a way that is good for you because, it can cause some problems if you come off of them too fast for some, not everybody, but for some. And, I don't know how that plays into like the TMS stuff. I hadn't really looked. All I know is I did a slow taper and it can be done and stay out of the benzo groups, get your information, get out, start doing, all of your nervous system work before you try to come off, like get that stuff going. That's what I believe.
Yeah. And as many
Yeah,
groups as
100%.
there are that are dooms and gloom, we are now seeing as many groups, grateful, hope. I mean,
Yeah.
the growth of our TMS groups and our neuroplastic groups. I mean, Dr. Clark said, please start calling it neuroplasticity. So I'm even thinking at some point maybe to change the title because, but in honor of Dr. Sarno, when everyone's still honoring him, but the neuroplasticity is where is really what's happening. And you said it. Hyperarousal is just another word for threat physiology. And by the way, Dr.
Mhm.
Hanscom's new book, he'll be on the show in a few weeks. The spinal surgeon, his new book is about repetitive, intrusive thoughts. I mean, for him, this was like he studied everything scientifically about it and he broke it down into like, this is what's killing us.
Mhm.
And so
Yeah,
our
it's
thoughts
true.
about our pill, our thoughts about our life, our thoughts about this is what we have to, and it's fascinating because thoughts are energetic, and that's the whole quantum. Thoughts are just, I call them pixie dust. And I think you came to terms with you did, I felt like Michelle, maybe you started to have this love story. I like to call that and bring that word in because love heals. Like, hey, okay, we're in this together, thoughts. You're coming a mile a minute. I'm not gonna duck.
Yeah.
I'm gonna, catch you, and I'm gonna catch you, like what Gordon says, catch your thoughts, catch your fears. Like, I'm gonna catch you, and we're gonna have coffee,
Mhm.
and we're gonna work this out because we're in this together. Like, and then your sense of humor, just, I think that was something you have to look at. And then, some of the docs were talking about, play, and then Simone Holdenback was talking about, play and joy. And I think there's something very sweet about you and gentle and soft and angelic and that and brilliant at the same time. And I think you had to come to terms with your personality and find that
Yeah.
balance. And you
Yeah.
did such an enormous job. And here this week of Thanksgiving, as we kind of round up the show in a little bit, like I was happy to have you on this week, and it was a little bit tough week to get someone to be with me. And thank you, Rachel. And maybe people are traveling, because it is Thanksgiving in America, and we are all, I think when the people in this field we're very grateful. We're very we're full of hope, and gratitude is a chemical reaction. When we feel grateful and we write it, when we feel it, when we think it, the brain starts to change and say, "Oh, you don't need me to protect you. You're grateful. Okay, so I'll go be a brain. I'll just go do my job. You could live your life,
Yeah.
And I
I had
want
to
you to
start doing that too, being grateful. I had
talk
to
about
start
that. Talk about it.
I had to start so I had to make a schedule for myself because if I didn't, I would sit
Good.
and spin in my head all day long. But at the end of the night, when completed that schedule, or maybe I didn't, I would say three things that I was grateful for, even
That's
if
it.
it was just my socks. I had to think of things because I wasn't grateful at all. Like I wasn't even grateful to be there, more or less, my surroundings. But eventually
I'm
that
going to quote
gratefulness,
that. That's the quote of the entire interview. I was grateful for my socks.
yeah. But now I'm really grateful. Like I haven't celebrated Thanksgiving or Christmas in 3 years, and this year I'm having family and my grandkids and I'm cooking and
Wow.
I still have symptoms. I absolutely still have symptoms because I need to do the TMS work now, the real Dr. John Sarno, the journaling, the my emotions, because I need to address that I wasn't addressing before because I couldn't at the time. and I'm doing that now. But I really feel the grateful now. I feel it. And you know what? I deserve it because I worked hard. I have been through nervous system dysregulation twice. I have
Wow.
made a plan to not be here. I've lived through that. I've pulled myself out of some dark holes, and I am grateful that I get to cook a turkey this year. I am grateful. I am happy, happy to be here. I'm happy to
Wow.
be here.
Wow.
So that's what I've got out of this. Like,
Wow.
this is what TMS did for me and the hopeful groups. And I don't want to start tearing up, but it gave me
Please,
hope.
we want tears on. We want tears in
Oh,
my
go on,
studio.
do it. I know.
It gave me hope, and I didn't have any hope. I didn't,
Wow,
but
amazing.
now I have
Yeah.
hope.
And you are a
I have hope.
beacon, a real light
Yeah,
for so many people, of real light. And that's
yeah.
why for you to come and speak up, and Rachel, for you to come and speak up, and for me to be able to be the bridge, this is why I keep doing it, because I just won't give up. I won't give up, and I have
It's
hope. And
hope.
there are a lot of people who, sometimes say, "Doc, stop, enough, stop it." And I'll be like, "Wait a minute, what do you mean you're giving up?" And they'll be like, "I don't want to do it." And I'll be like, "Now I need the therapy." So,
Hmm.
but part of it is but this is my Derek. That means road. This is my karma. This is your karmic. This is your message, your wake up call. Both of you had a wake up call, and now you can't turn back. You have a message to bring to the world. And neither of you are really coaches. I mean, I'm a coach, and this is my world, this is what I do for a living. But you have a voice, and people will listen to you, and they're continuing through you being a moderator on Raylan's page. And Michelle, you have a YouTube channel where you speak on, and I think sometimes you interact with people. So share a few minutes about that, so people can maybe contact you
Mm.
if they want to
I've
speak to
watched
you.
I've watched the I've watched the YouTube video, by the way, Michelle. It's brilliant. You need to get that out there. There's some
Oh my
great,
gosh.
like really
I like
nice
so horrible. Like,
bite-sized.
the thumbnails that they pick out are just horrible. See, I'm learning how to do all this stuff and gracefully with my daughter trying to teach me by, not losing her mind because, she's teaching a boomer how to use the computer. It has been interesting for sure. Um, but yeah, I put out YouTube videos. I do have a Facebook group, but it's not like go on, talk about symptoms. I have a PDF that I wrote. Um, and people can go on, and it's free. They can read it of, the things that I did to heal. I forgot to mention I do a lot of self-talk Sarno style too. I would record in my phone, you know, like brain, I don't need these sensations anymore. I'm safe to feel my emotions. I just wanted to mention that real quick. But
Excellent, excellent,
there's so many things
excellent.
that I did to get messages of safety and slowly calm my nervous system down. And then I have my YouTube. I do coach a few people, but only 2 or 3 at a time. I'm not making a living at it. I just am doing
Yeah,
it probably a year or so. I made a promise to God that if I could get out of it one more time, that I was gonna help people, and that's what
wow,
I'm doing.
wow, wow,
Yeah, it's a
amazing.
real hero's journey. That's what I always think, where
Yeah,
you've been through the
yes,
absolute, it's a
yeah,
heroine's journey, actually. That's even worse
yeah,
than a hero's journey, but
Yeah.
more impressive. And you've kind of come out of the underground, and you've got
yeah.
so much to share, Michelle. You've got
You're
so much to
fortunate.
share.
And I
And it's
think,
paying it forward, isn't it?
yeah,
I think so, yeah, like Doc does here, she pays it forward, you do. We pay it forward, right?
yeah. I also, I see that there's a few comments which will take a few minutes, and um, thank you, very inspiring. I'm going through my own journey, a bit lost and lonely now, and I just want to say that, for a lot of people, I'll bring this up, and they'll be like, they'll hang up the phone, they'll turn off the Zoom, they don't want to talk about it. But I always say, like, maybe they're not ready, but sometimes you have to be ready to see the gift. And this is a very it's in the Bible, it's part of Torah, it's part of the New Testament, it's part of all the spiritual practices, about that we're not a victim. Things happen to us for a reason, and if we can stop and see that there's some big message here, and there's some big journey here, the hero's journey. Let me stop and look at how I can benefit from this trauma and dark place. That's
hmm
what I want to maybe say to Beatrice, that maybe possibly that's what's happening for you. Maybe you can lean into that a little bit, and that might help you. But you're not alone. We are here. There's a huge group and people supporting you. And so reach out to me. I'll connect you deeper to so many people and places and things that are here to support you and carry you and help you through until you're ready to carry yourself. I think this is another question. I appreciate this chat, Michelle. It made me feel like I'm not alone and realize that there is hope. I feel doomed and depressed with chronic disabling pain.
Yeah. Yeah. It is a hard thing to live with, especially that doom, but just take that little bit of hope and hold on to it. Just take it, because that's all I needed, was just a little bit of hope. And for me, I absolutely had to force myself at times to do some things that I didn't want to do, like scheduling. And I really had to do the work. I had to do the work. I finally had to do the work. I had to make a choice and do the work, and just with that little tiny piece of hope, just that little piece.
Yeah.
And I ran with it, you
Yeah.
know?
Amazing. And possibly, what do you think, Michelle? Like, if it's uncomfortable and strange and foreign, sometimes that's the place. Like, there's a book called Reaching into Resistance from Dr. Alan Abbas, and he's worked with Dr. Schubiner. And often, if we lean into the resistance, when we see it, we kind of want to bolt. See that as a place you need to go. And on the
Mhm.
other side of that
Yep.
resistance is that's the uncomfortable place. And
Yep.
yet, going into the uncomfortable place is a place where you're going to find the comfort.
Yeah.
So this is important about,
When
let's chat for a minute about the comfort and the discomfort zone. And maybe that will help Corey.
For me, when sensations were the highest, was more of an opportunity to respond well. That was brain retraining.
Wow.
I had to do it. And when symptoms are higher and you don't feel like doing anything, is sometimes when you need to force yourself, not kill yourself, push, push, push. But I think retraining your brain, or messages of safety, all of that is when you can do when sensations are here. And you just tell yourself you're safe, and you smile, and you lower your shoulders, and you just notice your thinking patterns. I can't do this. Oh, it hurts too bad. I'm doomed. I'm this. And you just notice them, and you tell yourself you're safe. You can stay, but I'm doing it anyway. So for me, whatever was on my schedule, I did anyway, whether I felt like crap or not. It was just that simple.
Yeah, it's kind of like feel the fear and do it anyway. It's a bit tough love. So on that
Yes.
note, I'd like Rachel just to say maybe a few closing words, because we're going to say goodnight, and then Michelle can say maybe a few closing words. This will be uploaded this evening or tomorrow on my YouTube channel. You can reach out to me, questions for Rachel and Michelle. I will make sure that they receive them. And so we're still always here for you, even when we say goodnight, on the YouTube channel and in the Facebook pages, and can always help you contact Michelle. So in honor of Thanksgiving 2025, here we are, aging gracefully. Rachel, what would you like to say in closing?
I think lovely to finally meet Michelle, because I recognise her and her comments from the Facebook, and you don't often get the opportunity to actually spend some quality time with someone. So thank you. And I think my internet just died a little bit, and then I came back in. But I came back in when you were talking about
We threw you a line and you came back.
when you were talking about, the opportunity that symptoms present, and even though they seem like they're hideous, they're also they are hideous. They're an opportunity to learn and grow. And all my big learnings came when I had the symptoms, because if you don't have the symptoms, there's no opportunity to retrain. So I love your reframe, Michelle. I think the way that you described how you dealt with the symptoms, and that you did stuff anyway, even when and in spite of what was going on. So thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, am I next? What do you
I
want me
just
to
want you
say?
to leave a few closing words to kind of end it, because I've said enough. And thank you, Rachel. I'm thrilled to be co-hosting with you, and I'll invite you back. And Michelle, really, you're brave and courageous, and that's just been a saving grace for you. And I want you to honor that from a very young child, maybe even past lives. This was your karma. And so I'm happy to meet you on this path, because you're here to talk about it. Yeah, the real hero's journey.
Yeah. I just want to thank you for letting me come on and not telling the deep dark secrets of your life isn't always easy to do, but someone was looking out for me upstairs, and that's why I'm here too, is because someone was looking out for me. And I'm living proof, because I went from completely debilitated, like I couldn't get off the floor without help, to cooking a 22-pound turkey tomorrow with my grandchildren and not wanting to not be here anymore. I'm super, little things don't bother me anymore. Like, this has taught me so much more than just getting out of symptoms. This has taught me that the little things in life don't matter anymore. The dishes in my sink, or that the perfect person, I've gained a lot of weight, but I'll lose it eventually. But that this has taught me a whole new meaning, because I've always played into second fear. I've always wondered what if. And um so it's really taught me, even though I wish I didn't know any of it, to be honest with you, and I wish I was still ignorant and living my life. But here I am anyways. So
Wow. Thank you, lovely
there's
ladies.
hope.
Have a blessed Thanksgiving, and may all of our blessings come true. It's the holiday season for everyone all over the world. Blessings to the listeners and to my community. And so we'll be back next week. But in the meantime, I'm so grateful, and I give you all very spiritual virtual hugs across the ocean.
I'm a vegetarian, and I really fancy cooking a turkey now.
Anyway,
even though I'm a vegetarian,
a tofu turkey.
I feel inspired.
Have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you so much. All the
Bye,
best.
everybody. Thank you.
Okay, 1 second.